All right, today's video is you are bigger than what's happening with you, or are experiencing everything that's happening reduced into its scale, or are experiencing everything that's happening reduces us to its scale. All right, that makes more sense. So you're bigger than what's happening, than what is happening with you, or are experiencing everything that's happening reduces us to its scale. So I'm here, I'm kind of like, it's one note but split in two different like rhetorics. One is declaring that we are bigger than what's happening with us, which I believe to be true. But the other is what you are experiencing when you are experiencing everything that's happening is the experience of everything that's happening reduces us to its scale. So it's also pointing at our size. Now, how do I explain how big we are? I'm pretty sure we are beyond the universe in terms of in terms of our existence and the nature of this kind of like consciousness that allows me to speak through a fucking lens to people all across the world that just chose to click and not always like my videos. The badasses, man, like the video the minute they open it. Regardless. Anyways, you are bigger than what's happening with you. Let's isolate this, and then basically us going through the experience reduces us to its scale, experience that as well. And if we were to visualize it, I would want to imagine us kind of like looking at an ant. It's fair. And ultimately, when you first see an ant, you don't really see anything. You kind of have to come down, 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 so that, because when you're first seeing the ant, you're seeing everything else around it. If you're looking at it standing up from the floor, you're literally seeing everything, unless you can really focus. But if you actually want to like see the ant in more detail, you have to come closer. And coming closer kind of like takes away all the other things that you were able to see first. But at the very least, you see more detail. And I feel like that's where we get stuck. Because we really forget, I want to say, our power, our strength, our being, our essence, our spirit, our connectedness, our this could be a spiritual thing, this could be a philosophical thing, like the human mind, like the human as a physical entity, it's just beauty in its design, right? But then the mind and how it connects us to consciousness, and all of us are connected, because when I'm speaking to you and you're understanding me, that means we're connected. If I'm speaking to you and you're understanding my words but not understanding me, that means we're connected. It's just we're not connected at a level that allows me. I'm either not connected properly so that you're able to understand me, or you kind of like need to strengthen your connection. It doesn't matter. Like there's no blame in this. It's just like connection is always kind of like our connection to consciousness is always there. Yeah, I'm more of a Jungian than a Freudian, so I believe in the global collective consciousness kind of thing. I think this is truly how we manifest, because like our actual like voice has to reach, and when something becomes relevant to enough people, that's basically your growth. Then ultimately it kind of like comes to this world naturally through you is the ideal way. And so when we're looking at this ant, and we have to kind of get closer to understand it better, because that's the experience, right? Because when you're going through an experience, what happens is your mind kind of like focuses on just that experience if you allow it. And it's not if you allow it, if it interests you, let's say, because like you're really just the intention. I am the intention behind everything else. And so if my intention is to give attention to a thought, then it basically would encompass the rest of my mind, my day, my mental space, all that stuff kind of like become that thought. Or I could just pass and I could just laugh about it and be like, huh, I can't, like, right? Like Anyways, so size, bigger. But then on the other side, I wrote like we're experiencing everything that's happening reduces us to its scale. And if something is happening and we're going through that experience, but we're going through everything regarding that experience, it kind of isolates us from the rest of the things that are happening around us. It puts us in a place that doesn't allow us to see beyond the experience itself. Now, this is empowering on one side, but this is also debilitating. Can I use that word? Somebody comment if I can't. Oof, 5 minutes in. I don't think a lot of you are still there. Because, like, I think experiencing everything that's happening is presence and focus. Experiencing everything that's happening. Well, is it really presence? No, I don't really think it's presence. Maybe there's a flow in it. Maybe there's a way for us to kind of like, because every once in a while, because flow, you're taken by the flow. You don't really create the flow. You kind of like build the base for the flow to kind of like take you. Because if it's not that, that means the flow itself is effort, which means it's not flow. So everything that's happening reduces us to its scale, experiencing everything that's happening. And I feel that's basically the subjective approach to an experience. And I understand like we always want to like get the full experience of the emotion and the full range of experiences when it comes to something are different than the full experience. Huh. So here, uh, no one person experiences something the same way, right? And it's fairly simple because each of us have our reality and we live in our reality and we have a shared reality. And this real world is the shared experience. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about like, at times when we're experiencing everything, are we restricting our experience to what's happening regarding this, that whatever it is, regarding the thing that we're experiencing? Or are we trying to just build different forms of this experience in order for us to be satisfied? How does that, for some reason, I feel that's what anxiety is, right? Anxiety is kind of like bringing in things, a different range of experiences that would come up from the outcome that gave us the initial like jolt in an experience. And it does reduce us to its scale because it kind of like holds us and it makes us forget how big we were. It makes us forget that we were on the outside before we got in. But yeah, the outside is just me being able to see everything. And getting in means me neglecting everything and kind of like going into that one thing that allows me to just interact with only it. And is that how people kind of like, I don't want to say lose their shit, but kind of waste their time and waste their energy? Because effectively, what we do is we take the one thing that we've already done with the experience. So imagine a situation that sucks you in, a fight. When it's done and you leave, the fight is still in your mind. Isn't that you truly kind of like shrinking yourself to that one fight, forgetting everything that happened in the day, right? Because that's where I think our emotions kind of like play a big part. But you have the whole day that you could have like thought of, but you decided to think of that one thing, and on top of all of that, you took it with you. So it's eating from other days, effectively shrinking your scope and shrinking your size. So when we say you're bigger than what is happening with you, I think the better way for me to kind of like express this is The objective approach allows us to see a lot more than just it. Allows us to look at more, not, regarding it and regarding everything around it. And it allows us to remember that everything lives in a pocket of time that you allocate to. And I really think that's the power, right? Like that's the bigger you. Because 2 hours of the day are about, let's say, are about 8% of the day. 2 hours of the week are barely 1%. 2 hours of the year are kind of nothing. Yet those are the things that linger. And that's where we get stuck. And that stuck is when we kind of like forget how big we are. And we allow ourselves to shrink to the size of that moment and be trapped in it. Or at the very least, be convinced that we're that small. It's a video. Why the fuck not?